The rivet gun kicks in Rose Callahan's hands. She's 60 rivets into panel 712B, the lower wing section of Liberator number 2, 83, when she sees it. A hairline crack running 3 inches along the seam where her work meets yesterday's shift. It's small. Most people wouldn't notice it. But Rose has been doing this for 8 months, and she knows what happens when a crack that small gets to 30,000 feet. The panel is already installed, already inspected by first shift, already signed off. The rivet gun is loud, so loud her ears ring even through the cotton plugs. The factory floor of Willow Run stretches around her like a steel canyon, 3 stories high and over a mile long. Overhead, the partially assembled fuselages of B-24 Liberators hang from moving conveyor chains, creeping forward at the pace of industrial inevitability. 1 bomber every 63 minutes. That's the quota. That's what Henry Ford promised the government. That's what America needs to win this war. Rose's supervisor, Frank Kowalski, is walking toward her station. Behind him, clipboard in hand, is someone from quality control. They're 30 seconds away. The crack is in a section she didn't work on. It's not her fault, but she saw it. And now she has to decide. Does she report it and shut down the line for 6 hours while they reinspect every panel from yesterday's shift? Does she risk the wrath of the foreman, the other workers whose piece rate pay will stop while the line stops, the whispers that women slow down production? Or does she say nothing? Let the panel pass inspection? Let Liberator number 283 roll off the line tomorrow and fly to England next month with 10 young men inside, trusting their lives to every rivet, every weld, every joint? 20 seconds. Her hand is still on the rivet gun. The pneumatic hose snakes across the floor, alive with compressed air. Her wedding ring, Tom's ring, the one she got 3 years ago when the world was different, catches the overhead light. 10 seconds. Frank's boots are loud on the concrete. She can hear him even over the machinery. 5 seconds. Rose lifts her hand from the rivet gun, takes a breath, and makes her choice. But to understand this moment, to understand what brought Rose Callahan to this factory floor on March 17th, 1943, to understand what this choice will cost her, we must go back. Back to when the day began. Back to 4:15 in the morning, when Rose first opened her eyes in the dark, and the weight of this day was still hours away. 4:15 in the morning. The alarm clock's bell shatters the darkness. Rose's hand finds it immediately, no fumbling, no delay. After 8 months of shift work, her body knows the rhythm. She silences the bell before it can wake her mother-in-law sleeping in the next room, before it can disturb the fragile peace of the pre-dawn hours. The room is cold. March in Michigan means frost on the windows and breath visible in the air. Rose sits up, pulling the thin quilt around her shoulders. Beside her, the other half of the bed is empty. Has been empty for 11 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. Tom is somewhere in North Africa with the 3rd Armored Division. His last letter arrived 6 weeks ago. It said he was fine. It said he missed her. It said very little else because the censors had blacked out anything that might tell her where he actually was or what he was actually doing. Rose stands. Her feet find the cold floor. She's 28 years old, 5'5", 130 pounds, 10 pounds lighter than when Tom left. The work burns calories. The rations don't replace them. She dresses in the dark. Heavy canvas, work pants, denim shirt, thick socks. The clothes smell like machine oil and metal dust no matter how many times she washes them. She learned early that there's no point trying to look pretty for factory work. The propaganda posters show Rosie the Riveter with perfect makeup and a cute polka dot bandana. The reality is grease under your fingernails and metal shavings in your hair. 4:25. In the kitchen, Rose lights the gas stove. Her mother-in-law, Martha, appears in the doorway in her nightgown, gray hair in curlers. "I can make your breakfast," Martha says. She always says this. "I've got it, Martha. Go back to bed." "You work too hard." Rose doesn't answer. There's no good answer. Yes, she works hard. 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week, at 75 cents an hour. She's making more money than she ever imagined. $6.75 a day, over $40 a week. But she's also exhausted in ways she didn't know were possible. She boils water for a Sats coffee. There's no real coffee anymore, just roasted grains that taste like burnt toast. She toasts a slice of bread, spreads it with margarine from the ration book. Real butter is a memory. Real eggs are saved for Sundays. This morning, there's just toast and the coffee that isn't coffee, and the knowledge that her lunchbox contains another dry sandwich for noon. 4:40. Rose ties her hair back, then wraps it in the bandana. Red polka dots on navy blue. It was a gift from Tom before he left, cheerful and bright. Now it's faded and stained and holds her hair back so it won't get caught in the machinery. 3 women died that way in the first month she worked at Willow Run. Hair caught in a lathe, gone in seconds. After that, everyone wore bandanas. Everyone tucked every strand away. She kisses Martha's cheek. "I'll be home by 4:30. Be safe." Safe. As if there's such a thing. As if the factory floor isn't full of ways to die. As if the boys overseas have any safety at all. 4:50. Rose steps into the pre-dawn darkness. The street is quiet except for the distant rumble of trucks heading to the plant. 3 houses down, she sees another woman emerge, Betty, from next door, who works second shift at the bomber plant. They wave but don't speak. It's too early for words. The bus stop is 2 blocks away. Rose walks quickly, shoulders hunched against the cold. The sky is starting to lighten in the east, a thin gray line on the horizon. In an hour, the sun will rise over Detroit. In an hour, Rose will be on the factory floor, rivet gun in hand, building the machines that will carry American boys to war. She doesn't know it yet, but today will be different. Today, she'll face a choice that will define everything. Today, she'll learn exactly what we can do it actually costs. The bus appears, headlights cutting through the gloom. Rose climbs aboard. The bus is already half full. Women, mostly, a few older men heading to supervisory positions or jobs too specialized to draft. Everyone looks tired. Everyone is tired. Rose finds a seat near the back, next to a woman she doesn't know. They nod at each other but don't speak. The bus lurches forward, heading west toward Willow Run. Through the windows, Detroit passes in shadows, darkened houses, closed shops, empty streets. The city is sleeping. The factory never sleeps. The woman next to Rose pulls out a letter, reads it in the dim overhead light. Rose sees tears on her cheeks but looks away. Everyone on this bus has someone overseas. Everyone is waiting for letters that might not come. You don't intrude on another woman's private grief. The bus fills at every stop. By the time they reach Michigan Avenue, people are standing in the aisles. Rose recognizes faces now, women she's worked beside for months but whose names she doesn't know. There are thousands of workers at Willow Run. You can't know everyone. You can't afford to get too close. People quit. People get hurt. People disappear. Better to keep your head down, do your work, collect your pay. 5:30. The sky is lighter now, pale gray with streaks of pink. Through the window, Rose sees a billboard. Every rivet counts by war bonds. Below it, a painted Rosie flexing her bicep, confident and cheerful. Rose touches her own arm, feels the aching muscles beneath her sleeve. The poster Rosie never looks tired. The poster Rosie never doubts. The woman next to Rose folds her letter, tucks it back in her purse. She wipes her eyes. Husband? Rose asks softly. Brother. Anzio. Rose nods. There's nothing to say. Anzio is bad. Everyone knows Anzio is bad. The newspapers don't say how bad, but the letters do. The letters that get through. Yours? Husband. North Africa. They sit in silence after that, two strangers sharing the same fear, the same waiting, the same helplessness. The bus rumbles on. 5:45. The factory complex appears on the horizon. Willow Run, the largest room under one roof in the world, a mile long, a quarter-mile wide. From above, Rose has seen the photographs. It looks like a giant letter L laid across the Michigan countryside. Inside, assembly lines move like mechanical rivers, carrying fuselages, wings, engines, tails. At the far end, complete B-24 Liberators roll out onto the runway, ready to fly to war. The bus joins a long line of other buses, trucks, and cars. Thousands of workers arrive every shift change. The roads around the plant are clogged. The bus crawls forward, stop and start, stop and start. Rose thinks about Tom, wonders if he's warm, wonders if he's safe, wonders if the planes she's building will protect him somehow, will make the war shorter, will bring him home faster. The logic doesn't work. She's building bombers, not fighters, and they fly over Europe, not Africa, but she thinks it anyway. It's the only thing that makes the exhaustion bearable. 5:55. The bus finally reaches the plant entrance. Rose steps off into a sea of humanity, women in bandanas and work pants, men in coveralls and hard hats, everyone streaming toward the massive doors. The factory swallows them whole. At the gate, Rose shows her badge to the guard. Employee number 7492. Rose Callahan, Riveter, wing section, first shift. The guard barely looks at her. He's seen this badge 1,000 times. Inside, the noise hits like a physical force. The roar of machinery, the clang of metal on metal, the hiss of welding torches, the pneumatic shriek of rivet guns. It never stops. The plant runs 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1 bomber every 63 minutes. That's the quota. That's the promise Ford made to Roosevelt. Rose walks through the canyon of steel and hanging fuselages, heading to her station. Around her, the shift change is happening. Second shift workers trudging out, exhausted, replaced by first shift workers trudging in, already exhausted. The conveyor chains above creak and groan, moving their cargo forward, always forward. 6:05. Rose reaches Station 73, wing section, lower panel assembly. Her rivet gun hangs on its hook. Her toolbox sits where she left it. Next to her station, she sees Harold Simmons, 52 years old, worked at Ford before the war, doesn't think women belong in factories. He doesn't greet her. The shift whistle blows. 6:15, time to build bombers. Rose pulls on her gloves, thick leather, worn soft at the fingers. She lifts the rivet gun from its hook. It's heavy, maybe 20 pounds, all steel and compressed air power. The pneumatic hose trails behind like an industrial umbilical cord. The foreman, Frank Kowalski, walks the line, clipboard in hand. He's 45, balding, former Ford employee who's been promoted to supervisor because most of the younger men are overseas. He's not cruel, but he's not kind. He's tired and pressured and trying to meet impossible quotas. "Morning, Callahan," he says, not looking up from his clipboard. "Morning, Frank. Today's quota is 120 panels. Wing sections behind. Quality control rejected 8 panels yesterday from second shift. We need to make up the difference." Rose nods. 120 panels means 12 hours of work compressed into 10. It means no breaks except the mandatory 30 minutes for lunch. It means her hands will cramp and her shoulders will burn and she'll go home too tired to eat. "Can do," she says, "because that's what you say. That's what Rosie the Riveter does. We can do it." Frank moves on to Harold, gives him the same speech. Harold grunts. He always grunts. In 8 months, Rose has never heard him say more than 2 words to her at once. 6:20. The conveyor chain above creaks, and a wing panel raw aluminum frame, 30 feet long, complex lattice of ribs and stringers, settles onto Rose's workstation. It's attached to a steel frame that holds it at chest height, angled for easy access. Rose checks the work order tag wired to the frame. Panel 709A, wing lower section, bomber 281. She positions herself, braces her feet, lifts the rivet gun. The panel has pre-drilled holes every 3 inches along every seam. Her job is simple: insert rivet, align gun, pull trigger. The gun fires with a sharp pneumatic crack, driving the rivet home, flattening the end, creating a permanent bond. 1 rivet takes 3 seconds. Each panel needs 200 rivets. That's 10 minutes per panel, if everything goes perfectly. Rose starts at the forward edge, working methodically left to right. Insert, align, fire. Insert, align, fire. The rhythm is hypnotic. Her body knows the motion. Her mind floats elsewhere, to Tom, to Martha, to the empty bed, to the bills piling up even with her factory pay. Around her, the factory roars. 100 rivet guns firing in percussion, welding torches hissing, the overhead conveyor chains groaning as they carry fuselages forward. Someone is shouting something, but Rose can't tell what or why. The noise makes communication impossible. 6:45. Panel 709A is complete. Rose signals to Harold, and together they release the frame locks. The conveyor lifts the panel away, moving it to the next station. Immediately, another panel descends. 709B, upper wing section. Rose lifts the rivet gun, 1 down, 119 to go. This is her life now. This is what winning the war looks like from the factory floor. By 8 o'clock, Rose has completed 12 panels. Her shoulders ache. Her hands are cramping even through the gloves. The rivet gun feels heavier with each pull. Panel 710C settles onto her station. She reaches for the first rivet, and that's when she notices the pre-drilled holes are misaligned. Not by much, maybe 1/8 of an inch, but enough that the rivets won't seat properly. It's a manufacturing defect from the sheet metal shop. Rose signals to Frank. He trudges over, irritated at the interruption. "What?" She shows him the holes. He squints, pulls out a measuring tool, checks. His jaw tightens. Goddamn metal shop. 3rd time this week. He makes a note on his clipboard. Can you compensate? Not safely. The rivets won't hold under stress. Can you make it work? This is the question Rose has learned to hate. Not should you make it work, but can you? The difference is everything. Can you meet the quota even if the materials are defective? Can you work faster than safe? Can you compromise quality to keep the line moving? I can drill new holes, Rose says, but it'll take 30 minutes. Frank's face darkens. 30 minutes is 3 panels behind quota. 30 minutes is explaining to his supervisor why wing section is slowing the line. 30 minutes is another mark against his production record. Do it, he says finally. But make up the time. Make up the time, work faster later. Skip your break, push through the exhaustion. Rose nods. Frank walks away. Rose fetches the hand drill from the toolbox, marks the correct hole positions, begins drilling through the aluminum. The work is slow and precise. You can't rush it. One wrong hole and the entire panel is scrap. Around her, the other workers keep their rhythm. Insert, align, fire. Insert, align, fire. The factory doesn't wait. The quota doesn't care. Above, the conveyor chains keep moving, carrying bombers toward completion. 9 o'clock. Rose finishes the corrected drilling, begins riveting the panel. Her arms are trembling now. She's 20 minutes behind. To make up the time, she'll need to work through morning break. No 10-minute rest, no trip to the bathroom, just work. Next to her, Harold is watching. He hasn't said anything, but Rose can feel his judgment. See? This is what happens when you let women do men's work. They slow everything down. They can't keep up. Rose works faster. The rivet gun barks in her hands. Crack, crack, crack. Panel 710C is complete. She signals Harold, and the panel rises away. But she's still behind, still catching up. 9:30. The brake whistle blows. Around her, workers set down their tools, stretch, head to the break room. Rose keeps working. The next panel, 711A, is already descending. She lifts the rivet gun. Callahan, it's Betty Martinez, who works 2 stations down. She's 32, has 3 kids at home, has been at Willow Run since it opened. She's tough and competent, and one of the few people Rose actually talks to. You skipping break? Need to catch up. You'll burn out. I'll be fine. Betty shakes her head but doesn't argue. She knows how it is. She's heard the quota demands. She's felt the pressure. I'll bring you coffee. Thanks. Betty disappears into the crowd. Rose keeps riveting. Insert, align, fire. Insert, align, fire. The rhythm is all that matters. The quota is all that matters. 10 o'clock. Betty returns with lukewarm ersatz coffee in a paper cup and half a sandwich, white bread, margarine, nothing else. Rose drinks the coffee standing up, eats the sandwich in 3 bites, never stops working. The panel in front of her is half complete now. Another 5 minutes, and she'll be caught up. The coffee tastes like battery acid. The sandwich tastes like nothing. Rose doesn't care. By 10:15, she's back on schedule. Panel 711A is complete. She's sweating despite the cold factory air. Her hands shake as she reaches for the next rivet, and that's when she sees it. On the panel that Harold just finished, the one moving away on the conveyor above her head, a hairline crack along the seam. Small, easy to miss. But there, Rose freezes, rivet in hand. She watches the panel rise up, moving toward the next station, moving toward inspection, moving toward installation in bomber number 283. She should say something. She knows she should say something, but if she says something, the line stops. If the line stops, they inspect every panel from second shift. If they find more cracks, they shut down wing section for hours. If wing section shuts down, everyone loses their piece rate pay. If she's the one who reported it, she becomes the woman who cost everyone money. The panel disappears up the conveyor chain, moving out of sight. Rose turns back to her work, lifts the rivet gun, tries to forget what she just saw. But she can't. 11:30. The lunch whistle blows. Rose sets down the rivet gun. Her hands are shaking. She's completed 41 panels this morning, 3 ahead of quota, but her mind isn't on the numbers. Her mind is on panel 712B, the one with the crack, the one she didn't report. The break room is crowded and loud. Rose finds a spot at the long metal tables, pulls out her lunchbox. Inside, another margarine sandwich, an apple turning soft, a thermos of water. She's too nauseous to eat. Betty sits down across from her, unwrapping her own meager lunch. You look sick. I'm fine. You're not fine. What happened? Rose hesitates. Then quietly, I saw a crack in Harold's panel. I didn't report it. Betty stops chewing. How big? Small. 3 inches. Maybe less. Could be nothing. Could be something. They sit in silence. Around them, other women eat and talk and laugh. Someone is discussing her kids. Someone else is complaining about the bus schedule, the normal noise of normal people taking a normal break. But there's nothing normal about building bombers. Nothing normal about knowing that every mistake, every shortcut, every crack means someone might die. If you report it now, Betty says slowly, they'll ask why you didn't report it 2 hours ago. I know. They'll shut down the line, inspect everything. I know. People will be pissed. Lost wages. I know. Betty takes a bite of her sandwich, chews thoughtfully. What are you going to do? Rose doesn't answer. She doesn't know. 12:15. The lunch break ends. Rose returns to her station, rivet gun in hand. But she can't focus. Every panel she works on, she checks obsessively for cracks, for defects, for any sign of failure. The work slows. Her rhythm is broken. By 1 o'clock, she's fallen behind quota again. Frank notices. He walks over, clipboard in hand, face tight with frustration. Callahan, you were 3 ahead this morning. Now you're 2 behind. What's going on? Just tired. Everyone's tired. Pick up the pace. He walks away before Rose can respond. She lifts the rivet gun, insert, align, fire. But her hands are shaking worse now. The gun slips, and the rivet goes in crooked. She has to drill it out, insert a new one. That's 3 minutes lost. 1:30. Harold's station suddenly erupts in sparks. His welding torch has ignited something, and there's smoke and shouting. Frank and 2 other foremen rush over with fire extinguishers. The conveyor stops. Everyone stops. For 5 minutes, the factory floor is chaos. The fire is extinguished quickly. It was just oil on a rag, nothing serious, but the damage is done. The stoppage puts everyone behind schedule. Frank is yelling at Harold, who's yelling back, and other workers are muttering about lost time. Rose watches from her station, sees the anger in people's faces, sees how quickly things turn when production stops, sees what happens when you slow the line. This is what they'll feel toward her if she reports the crack now. This anger, this resentment, this blame. 1:45. The conveyor restarts. The rhythm resumes. Rose picks up her rivet gun, but she's not thinking about panel 714C in front of her. She's thinking about bomber number 283. She's thinking about panel 712B somewhere up the line, maybe already installed, maybe already inspected, maybe already approved. She's thinking about 10 airmen who will climb into that bomber next month, who will trust their lives to every rivet, every weld, every panel. 10 men like Tom, 10 men who might die because Rose didn't want to cause trouble. 2 o'clock, Rose sets down her rivet gun, takes off her gloves. Her hands are covered in blisters and oil stains. She walks toward Frank's station, her legs feeling like lead. This is the moment. This is the choice. This is what we can do it actually means. Behind her, Harold watches. He knows something's wrong. Everyone can see it on her face. Rose reaches Frank. Just as quality control arrives for afternoon inspection, a man named Peterson with a clipboard and a measuring gauge. He's checking panels randomly, looking for defects, ensuring standards. He's about to inspect panel 712B. Rose opens her mouth and makes her choice. Frank, Peterson, I need to show you something. Frank turns, irritated at the interruption. Peterson looks up from his clipboard. Around them, the factory continues its deafening roar, but in this small bubble of space, everything feels suddenly quiet. What is it, Callahan? I'm busy. Panel 712B, there's a crack. Frank's face goes still. Show me. The three of them walk through the factory floor, weaving between workers and machinery. Rose's heart is hammering so hard she can barely breathe. Other workers are watching now, sensing something wrong, the way animals sense a storm coming. They reach the final assembly section, where completed wing panels are being installed on fuselages. Panel 712B is there, already bolted into position on Bomber 283. It's 15 feet in the air, attached to the massive airframe by a web of bolts and brackets. Rose points. There, along the seam, Peterson climbs a ladder, inspects the panel closely. His face is unreadable. He runs his fingers along the seam, pulls out a magnifying tool, examines the metal. The seconds stretch into eternity. Finally, he descends the ladder. His expression is grim. She's right. It's cracked. He turns to Frank. How long has this panel been installed? Frank checks his clipboard. Since 10:45 this morning. When did you see this, Callahan? This is the moment Rose has been dreading. The question she can't answer honestly without destroying herself. 2 hours ago, she says quietly. Maybe more. The factory noise seems to fade. Frank's face turns red. Peterson's expression shifts from professional concern to cold anger. 2 hours. Frank's voice is dangerously quiet. You saw a structural defect 2 hours ago, and you're only reporting it now? I wasn't sure. I thought maybe... You thought maybe a crack in a bomber wing wasn't important? Peterson's voice cuts like glass. You thought maybe 10 aircrews don't matter? You thought maybe... I was scared. The words burst out of Rose before she can stop them. I was scared everyone would hate me for stopping the line. I was scared I'd lose my job. I was scared. Frank's voice is ice. 10 men could die because you were scared. Around them, work has stopped. Other workers are gathering, sensing drama, sensing disaster. Rose can see their faces, some sympathetic, most angry. Harold is there, arms crossed, face triumphant. See, this is what happens when you let women do real work. They can't handle it. Peterson turns to Frank. Shut down wing section. I want every panel from second and first shift inspected. Every single one. Frank nods, his face rigid. He raises his voice to carry across the floor. Wing section shut down. All workers stop. Inspection protocol. The noise changes. Rivet guns fall silent. Welding torches go dark. The conveyor chains continue creaking, but the work stops. Thousands of dollars of production lost. Hours of wages lost. The quota broken. And everyone knows it's Rose's fault. Peterson turns back to Rose. Go wait in the office. Someone will speak with you. Rose nods numbly. She walks through the silent factory floor, feeling every eye on her, feeling the weight of collective anger. Betty tries to catch her eye, but Rose can't look at her. Harold actually smirks as she passes. The office is a small, glass-walled room at the edge of the factory floor. Rose sits in a metal chair, hands shaking, waiting. Through the glass, she can see the inspection happening. Peterson and other quality control staff climbing ladders, examining panels, making notes. She sees them find another crack, then another. 20 minutes pass. 30. Rose stares at her hands calloused, oil-stained, blistered. These hands built bombers. These hands might have killed men. The door opens. Frank enters, followed by a man Rose doesn't know older, in a suit, probably someone from management. "Miss Callahan," the suited man says. "I'm Robert Henshaw, assistant production manager. We need to talk about what happened today." Rose nods, unable to speak. Quality control has identified 7 panels with structural defects. 7, all from second shift yesterday. Your panel, 712B, is the worst, but there are others. He pauses. If those panels had made it to operational aircraft, people would have died. I know. You saw the crack 2 hours before you reported it. Yes. Why? Rose looks up at him. Because I was scared. Because I didn't want everyone to hate me. Because I needed this job. And I thought maybe it was small enough that it wouldn't matter. Maybe I was wrong to see it. Maybe you could ignore it and hope for the best. Yes. The word is barely a whisper. Henshaw leans back. "Miss Callahan, you understand that what you did or didn't do constitutes negligence. Potentially criminal negligence." Rose's stomach drops. Criminal. She could go to jail. She could lose everything. Tom would come home to find his wife in prison. However, Henshaw continues, and Rose's heart leaps at that word. You did eventually report the defect. You could have stayed silent. You could have let those panels go through. The fact that you didn't, that you chose to come forward despite the personal cost, that matters. He exchanges a glance with Frank. "Here's what's going to happen," Henshaw says. "You're suspended without pay for 2 weeks. You'll be reassigned to a different section when you return. You'll undergo additional safety training, and you'll be on probation for 6 months. 1 more violation of any kind, and you're terminated. Understood? Understood? The reason we're not firing you outright is simple. We need workers, and we need workers who will eventually report problems. You made a mistake, a serious mistake, but you learned from it. Don't make us regret this decision." "I won't, I promise. Get your things, go home, report back on April 1st. Rose stands on shaking legs. "Thank you." Henshaw doesn't respond. Frank walks her back to her station, where her toolbox and lunchbox wait. The factory has restarted now. The inspection found and removed the defective panels, and work is resuming. But people are still watching her, still judging. Betty appears at her elbow. "You okay?" "Suspended. 2 weeks. Could have been worse." "I know." Rose packs her toolbox, her hands moving automatically. Harold watches from his station, and for once he actually speaks. Told them women couldn't handle it. Rose turns to face him. "I handled it. I reported the defect. I saved lives. What did you do? You made that panel. You missed that crack in the first place." Harold's face flushes red. He opens his mouth to respond, but Frank cuts him off. "Simmons, shut it. Get back to work." Rose walks away, toolbox in hand, past the staring workers, past the silent rivet guns, past the bombers hanging overhead like metal angels. She walks out into the afternoon sunlight, and for the first time in 8 months, She's leaving before her shift ends. The world outside the factory is jarring in its normalcy. Birds are singing. The sun is shining. The spring air is warm and clean, untainted by machine oil and metal dust. Rose stands in the parking lot, disoriented, as if she stepped from one world into another. It's 2:45 in the afternoon. She should be at her station right now, rivet gun in hand, working toward quota. Instead, she's standing in the sunlight, suspended, disgraced, broke, 2 weeks without pay. Rose does the math in her head. That's $135. Money she needs. Money that pays rent and buys food and keeps Martha comfortable. Money she won't have. She starts walking toward the bus stop, toolbox heavy in her hand, but when she gets there, she realizes the buses run on shift schedules. The next bus won't arrive for 2 hours. She can't wait that long. Can't stand here where other workers might see her, where the shame might crystallize into something permanent. Rose starts walking. It's 10 miles to home, in her work boots, carrying her toolbox, but she doesn't care. She needs to move, needs to walk, needs to do something physical to quiet the chaos in her mind. The road stretches ahead, a long ribbon of asphalt through the Michigan countryside. Rose walks steadily, her boots raising small puffs of dust with each step. The sun is warm on her shoulders. The toolbox grows heavier with each mile. She thinks about Tom, wonders what he would say about what happened today. Would he be proud that she reported the defect, or angry that she waited so long? Would he understand the fear, the pressure, the impossible choice? Or would he see her as Harold sees her, a woman trying to do a man's job and failing? She thinks about the bomber. Number 283. Somewhere in that factory right now, panel 712B is being removed, replaced, re-inspected. The bomber will be delayed by a day, maybe 2, but it will fly. It will carry 10 men to war, and those 10 men will never know that Rose Callahan saw a crack and almost said nothing. 3:30. Rose has walked 4 miles. Her feet are blistering. The toolbox has cut grooves into her palm even through the calluses, but she keeps walking. A car passes, slows, stops. It's Betty, driving her rusty Ford coupe. Get in, Rose. I can walk. Get in the damn car. Rose climbs in, grateful beyond words. Betty doesn't say anything for the first mile, just drives, hands steady on the wheel. Finally, you did the right thing. I waited 2 hours, but you reported it? A lot of people wouldn't have. I might have killed someone, but you didn't. You stopped it in time. Betty glances at her. Listen, Rose, this job, this war, it's bigger than any of us. We're going to make mistakes, all of us. The question is, what we do when we realize we've made a mistake. You did the right thing. Rose wants to believe her. She wants to believe that reporting the defect somehow erases the 2 hours she stayed silent. But she can't. She knows what fear made her do. She knows how close she came to letting those men die. 4 o'clock. Betty drops Rose at her house. Rose climbs out, toolbox in hand. 2 weeks will go fast, Betty says, and you'll come back. Willow Run needs workers, needs good workers. You made a mistake, but you're good at what you do. Thanks for the ride. Anytime. Betty drives away, and Rose stands on the sidewalk in front of her house. Through the window, she can see Martha in the kitchen, probably starting dinner preparations. Rose should go inside, should explain what happened, should face the consequences. But for a moment, she just stands there, toolbox at her feet, bandana still tied in her hair. She's Rosie the Riveter. She builds bombers. She's part of the arsenal of democracy. She's helping win the war. And today, She learned exactly what that means. Not the propaganda poster version, cheerful and confident and strong. The real version, exhausted and scared and human, making mistakes, living with consequences, doing the right thing even when it costs everything. Rose picks up her toolbox and walks inside. The house smells like boiled cabbage and potatoes. Martha is at the stove, stirring a pot with a wooden spoon. She looks up when Rose enters, surprise and concern flickering across her face. "Rose, you're home early. Are you sick?" Rose sets down her toolbox, untie her bandana. Her hair falls loose, tangled and damp with sweat. "I got suspended 2 weeks." Martha's hand freezes on the spoon. "What happened?" Rose tells her. All of it. The crack, the fear, the 2 hours of silence, the choice to finally report it. Martha listens without interrupting, her face growing more worried with each sentence. When Rose finishes, Martha turns off the stove, pulls Rose into a hug. "Oh, honey, I almost let people die because I was scared. But you didn't. You reported it. Not soon enough." Martha pulls back, holds Rose at arm's length. "Listen to me. You made a mistake, a human mistake, but you corrected it. That's what matters. You saved lives today, Rose. Don't forget that." Rose nods, but she doesn't feel like a hero. She feels tired and small and scared. Martha guides her to the kitchen table, sits her down, pours a cup of weak tea from the pot on the stove. Rose wraps her hands around the cup, grateful for the warmth. 2 weeks without pay, Rose says quietly. "We can't afford that. We'll manage. I've got some money saved from before the war. We'll be fine. Tom's allotment barely covers the mortgage." "We'll be fine," Martha repeats firmly. "Don't worry about money. Worry about yourself." Rose drinks the tea. It tastes like nothing, but it's warm and wet, and that's enough. 5 o'clock. Rose changes out of her work clothes, washes her hands and face in cold water from the basin. The water turns gray with factory grime. She scrubs until her skin is pink and raw, trying to wash away the day, the fear, the shame. In the mirror, she looks different, older. The 8 months at Willow Run have aged her lines around her eyes that weren't there before, a thinness to her face that has nothing to do with rationing and everything to do with exhaustion. She thinks about the poster on the bus. "We can do it." Rosie the Riveter with her flexed bicep and confident smile. The poster doesn't show the fear, doesn't show the mistakes, doesn't show the impossible choices. The poster is a lie. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the poster isn't supposed to be real. Maybe it's supposed to be aspirational, something to aim for, even if you never quite reach it. 6 o'clock. Rose and Martha eat dinner at the kitchen table, boiled cabbage, potatoes, a small piece of stringy beef that came from 3 weeks' worth of ration stamps. The food is bland and meager, but Rose eats it mechanically, filling the hollow space inside her. "Have you heard from Tom?" Martha asks. "Not in 6 weeks. He's probably just busy. The mail is slow from Africa." "I know." But Rose worries. Worries that the silence means something worse than busy. Worries that somewhere in the North African desert, Tom is hurt or dead or suffering. Worries that she'll get a telegram instead of a letter. Worries that the war will take him from her just like it's taken everything else: coffee, butter, silk stockings, normal life. After dinner, Rose sits on the porch steps, watching the sunset. The sky turns orange and pink and purple, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Tom is under the same sky. Somewhere out there, Bomber 283 will eventually fly with a new panel, carrying 10 men who will never know Rose's name. 7:30. Martha calls Rose inside. You should rest. 2 weeks off means you can actually sleep. Rose nods. But she's not tired. She's exhausted in her bones, but her mind is racing. She keeps thinking about panel 712B, keeps replaying the moment she saw the crack, keeps asking herself, if she could go back, would she report it immediately, or would fear still win? She doesn't know, and that frightens her more than anything. 8 o'clock. Rose lies in bed, the bed she used to share with Tom, the bed that's been empty for 11 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. She stares at the ceiling, listening to Martha's soft snoring from the next room, listening to the house settle around her. Tomorrow she'll wake up with no work to do, no rivet gun to hold, no quota to meet. For 2 weeks she'll be suspended in time, waiting to return, wondering if she can. But tonight all she can do is lie here and think about 10 men she'll never meet, flying in a bomber held together by rivets, trusting their lives to the work of women like her, women who make mistakes, women who fix them, women who keep going. Rose closes her eyes. Tomorrow will come whether she's ready or not. 2 weeks later, Rose returns to Willow Run. She reports to a different section, not wing assembly, but final inspection. It's a demotion of sorts, less skilled work, but also less pressure. She'll be checking panels that other people rivet, looking for cracks, for defects, for the mistakes that could kill men. The bitter irony isn't lost on her. Frank meets her at the entrance, clipboard in hand. His face is neutral, not hostile, not friendly, just professional. Callahan, you're assigned to Station 118. Final inspection. Peterson will train you. Understood. Listen. Frank's voice drops lower. What happened? It was rough. But you came back. A lot of people wouldn't have. That counts for something. Rose nods, not trusting herself to speak. She walks through the factory floor to her new station. The noise is the same, the roar of machinery, the shriek of rivet guns, the hiss of welding torches, but her place in it is different now. She's not building anymore. She's checking. She's the last line of defense between a flawed panel and a dead crew. Peterson shows her the inspection protocols, how to check every seam, every rivet, every joint, how to use the magnifying tools and measuring gauges, how to mark defects for correction. It's detailed work, slower than riveting, requiring patience and attention to detail. The main thing, Peterson says, is you can't be afraid to call out problems. I don't care if it slows the line. I don't care if people get mad. You see a defect, you report it immediately. Understood? Understood. Rose begins her work. Panel after panel comes through, and she examines each one with obsessive care. She finds 2 minor defects in the first hour, misaligned rivets, easily corrected. She reports them both immediately. No hesitation, no fear. By lunch, she's settled into the rhythm. It's different from riveting, less physical, more mental, but she's good at it. She has an eye for imperfections, a sensitivity to what's wrong. Betty finds her at lunch, sits down across from her with a smile. Welcome back. Thanks. How's inspection? Slower, but important. Everything's important. Betty unwraps her sandwich, still margarine and bread, still meager. Heard bomber 283 flew last week, made it to England, already done 2 missions. Rose feels something tight in her chest loosen. Bomber 283, the one with panel 712B. It flew. The crew survived. Her mistake didn't kill them. That's good. That's because of you. Rose doesn't know what to say to that, so she just eats her sandwich and drinks her ersatz coffee and lets the moment pass. 6 months later, Rose receives a letter. It's from Tom. He's alive. He's in Italy now, pushing north with the army. He's tired and dirty and scared, but he's alive. The letter is full of censored blackouts, but between the lines, Rose can read his love, his longing, his hope that this war will end soon. She writes back immediately, telling him about the factory, about her suspension, downplaying it, making it sound less dramatic, about Martha, about their life. She doesn't tell him about the crack, about the fear, about the choice. Some things you can't put in a letter. 1 year later, in April of 1945, the war in Europe ends. Tom comes home 3 months after that, thinner, quieter, changed by what he's seen, but alive. Rose is still at Willow Run, still in final inspection, still checking panels, but the factory is winding down now. The war is over. The bombers are no longer needed. Soon, the plant will close or convert to civilian production. The women will be expected to go home, to give the jobs back to the men returning from war. Rose doesn't know what she'll do. She's not the same woman who left her kitchen in March of 1943 to become Rosie the Riveter. She's stronger now, more capable, more confident, but also more aware of her own flaws, her own capacity for fear, her own humanity. The propaganda posters will be forgotten. The "We can do it" slogan will fade. But Rose will remember. She'll remember the weight of the rivet gun in her hands. She'll remember the roar of the factory floor. She'll remember the moment she saw a crack and chose, eventually, to speak. She'll remember that winning a war isn't about propaganda or posters or slogans. It's about ordinary people making hard choices, one shift at a time, one panel at a time, one rivet at a time. It's about women like her, scared and tired and human, who showed up anyway, who worked anyway, who made mistakes and fixed them and kept going. That's the real story of Rosie the Riveter, not the poster, not the myth, the truth. Rose Callahan, 28 years old, factory worker, wife, inspector, one woman among thousands, one rivet among millions, one choice that saved 10 lives. That's the story. And it's enough.